Socrates is one of the most influential philosophers in Western thought. His life and teachings have been recorded primarily by his students, notably Plato, Xenophon, and others. The story of Socrates is not just one of intellectual achievement, but also a tale of moral integrity, public service, and tragic end. Socrates was born in Athens, Greece, to a stonemason named Socrates and a midwife named Phainarete. He grew up in a humble family, and not much is known about his early life. He may have followed in his father's footsteps for a time, working as a stonecutter. Socrates was married to Xanthippe, who is often depicted as a difficult, strong-willed woman. They had children together, though details about his family life are scarce. Socrates didn't leave any writings behind. Instead, his ideas were conveyed through his dialogues, and his life was immortalized by his students, especially Plato. Socrates spent much of his life in Athens, engaging in public debates and philosophical inquiries. Unlike the sophists of his time, who were paid for teaching wisdom, Socrates did not charge for his lessons, believing that the pursuit of wisdom was a personal duty and not a business. Socrates was known for his method of questioning, called the Socratic method, which involved asking a series of probing questions to stimulate critical thinking and illuminate ideas. This approach often led his interlocutors to realize that they didn't truly understand what they thought they knew, leading them to a state of aporia or confusion. Socrates believed that self-awareness and acknowledging one's ignorance were essential for true wisdom. He was deeply concerned with ethical questions, focusing on virtue, justice, and the nature of the good life. He famously stated that the unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates often used irony, pretending to be ignorant about certain subjects, only to expose the contradictions in others' beliefs. Though Socrates was not a formal political figure, he was a strong critic of Athens' democracy, especially its tendency to execute people without just cause, as in the case of the philosopher Anaxagoras and others. He did not believe that the majority opinion was always the correct one. He argued that only those who had true knowledge should hold positions of power. Socrates believed that the ideal society should be ruled by philosopher kings, wise individuals who could lead not for personal gain, but for the benefit of all. This idea was later expanded upon by Plato in his work, The Republic. In 399 BCE, Socrates was brought to trial in Athens. He was accused of impiety, disrespecting the gods of the city, and corrupting the youth of Athens. His ideas, particularly his challenges to traditional beliefs and the power of the Athenian state, made him enemies. The trial was highly political, and Socrates was put in a difficult position. The charges against him were based on his teaching methods, which many Athenians found unsettling, and his associations with controversial figures like Alcibiades, who had been a general during the Peloponnesian War. Socrates was also known for questioning the authority of the city's established religious and political institutions. In his defense, as recorded by Plato in the Apology, Socrates argued that he was not corrupting the youth, but rather encouraging them to think critically and question authority. He claimed that his mission was divine and that he was guided by an inner voice, or daimonion, which instructed him to challenge the status quo. Despite his eloquent defense, Socrates was found guilty by a narrow margin. Socrates was sentenced to death by consuming hemlock, a poison. Though given the chance to propose his own punishment, such as exile or a fine, Socrates refused to escape or avoid the death sentence. He believed that it was better to die than to live dishonestly or abandon his principles. In the Phaedo, one of Plato's dialogues, the death of Socrates is described in detail. On the day of his execution, Socrates was surrounded by his friends and disciples, including Plato. He calmly discussed the nature of the soul and the afterlife, offering philosophical reflections even in his final moments. Socrates took the hemlock without fear, maintaining his belief in the immortality of the soul. Socrates' death marked a turning point in the history of philosophy. His emphasis on ethics, virtue, and the pursuit of knowledge laid the groundwork for future generations of philosophers, especially his student Plato, who would go on to establish his own school and write extensively on philosophy. Through Plato's writings, Socrates became a central figure in the development of Western philosophy. His life and teachings inspired countless thinkers and movements, from the Stoics to the existentialists. Socrates' insistence on self-examination, intellectual humility, and moral integrity continues to influence philosophy today. In the end, Socrates' story is a testament to the power of ideas and the courage to live according to one's principles, even in the face of death.